There's a reason I brought you up on this call today, and it's because we're talking about something really sensitive, which is the topic of love bombing, and more importantly, the topic of self-abandonment. So I want to ask you first, have you experienced love bombing happening in your life? Like, have you experienced either having done it or someone having done it to you?
I had like two relationships where I did experience those more subtle forms of love bombing. And so I think a lot of you guys did a really great job of, defining it. And just like the way I kind of put it in layman's terms is like when the act doesn't necessarily match the truth. So, and like when I say like the act, it's even like the verbalizations, like you guys had said. So for me, it particularly showed up as the quick I love yous and then the moving in together. Those were the two biggest things in both of those relationships.
Tough question I'm going to throw at you. What's the fastest you've moved in with someone? Putting you on the spot here, Christina. Everybody's like really glued into this though. Just letting you know.
I think it was a month.
Okay. A month of being with someone. Okay. And is that fast for you, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's absolutely fast for me.
Okay. So why do you think you moved in with this person within a month? If it is fast for you, like, why do you think that? What is it that they said, or what is it that happened that made you want to like commit to something you normally would not commit to?
Yeah. So once we were like a pandemic-ish relationship. So like once we finally got together, it was so much together time. And so I am like an anxious attacher, like at my core. So it's like when I'm in a relationship, it's just, I'm very preoccupied with the relationship. I let it define me, or let's put this all in the past tense. But I used to like let, the relationship define me. I got so much sense of just, worthiness and value from, like having that person be my partner and having them choose me. So that was just that like very intense like bond and just just really like attachment. I like to say like I had my claws like in the relationship, just holding on for dear life.
What were they doing to establish and to show you? That's what I'm trying to get at. And don't worry, Christina, you can make them look bad. We don't know who they are. We're not going to put their names out here and like, throw on the internet. Like, Christina said you're a fucking asshole and we all know about it. Stay away from this guy. We're not going to do that. Don't worry about it. So you can make them like, you can be honest about what they did, because I want to give everybody here clarity as to what the experience actually looks like. And you're doing a really good job about talking about where you're coming from, which I want to talk about second, because that's the abandonment piece. But I want to talk about what you experienced with how this other person showed up. So in all of those relationships, or whichever relationships you experienced with love bombing, what did you experience with how those people showed up? And feel free to be really honest here, because this is a very transparent, honest space. I won't tell them, I promise.
It's our little secret, guys. Yeah. So I would say just like the constant communication. So I remember like the one guy, he would video message me like all the time, like on repeat, like throughout the day, like dozens of times. And I loved it because it made me feel really special. And then, just the other guy, like we would be on the phone or do like a, like a FaceTime type chat. And that would be for like, 2-3 hours. And that's like right off the bat with a relationship. And then it would just be like every single day throughout the day, all of that, constant, communication, and then just planning things. Well, first off, I would say even setting boundaries really quickly within the relationship. So the one guy, like within a week, and we weren't even dating. We just said like, let's explore this relationship. And then within a week, I was actually traveling at the time, and I kind of like let him know, because like we were like, oh, like let's maybe explore a relationship. But I was like, oh, like kind of have a date, and I am traveling, and we just kind of started talking. So I just want to be honest with you. And I also didn't want to come off as super like, anxious and being like, oh, well, like, are we together or whatever. But I also was like, oh, like I do want to be exploring this and going at a steady, slow pace. And he was very much not okay with it. And then so pretty much on the spot, it escalated to us being officially together.
No. Backtrack. What did he say to you? You're skipping some. I know there must be something in between where you escalated into being in a relationship. What was the boundary about? What did he say?
Oh, well, because I told him I was going to go on a date with another guy, and he was not okay with that. He was like, yeah, no, I'm not okay with that. Which it's also, I think I do think a secure person can admit that. But it was, for me, so this is the other thing, is like, it felt too soon. And like, we're going on, it was like a week in, and I was like, it just felt different in my body. And, and then, yeah. And he was like, yep, like, I'm not okay with this. And I remember just like feeling very, very stuck and like very frozen. And it did feel like a threat because he was like very much okay with it, you know?
Okay, I want to take a pause for a second because you talked about two things here that are really important, and I want everybody to listen to these things carefully. So you said the first things, or one of the things that they did was they established continuous communication. And one guy did it either through video calls or whatever, and the other one showed you videos all the time, but it was always there. Did that make you feel like they were showing that they were really present and that they wanted to be really present for you? Do you think that's what came up from like them trying to constantly communicate and them like, wanting to like keep talking to you? Did it show like they wanted to be really present for you?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Okay. And when the guy drew a boundary to say like, hey, I'm not comfortable dating other men. By the way, I myself have a rule with when I'm dating women where I'll say like, hey, I want us to focus on each other. But if you felt that it wasn't like, the right time yet, and it was too soon, maybe I was still discovering each other and communication, whatever. Did it, however, still make you feel like, whoa, this guy must really want me? If he's telling me that like, you shouldn't be dating anybody, I'm not comfortable you dating anybody else. I want you to just be here for me and I'll be here for you. Was it this kind of feeling that he really wanted you and that he was trying to show you that, okay, I really want you in this moment?
Yeah, but yes, but for clarity's sake, we actually had never been on a date. We were just talking, and we literally had just been like, oh, like, why don't we try and explore a relationship? But we like lived very far away, so we hadn't even seen each other in person, and like we were not in a relationship. We were not dating. We were just starting to talk. That's where, when I like, was honest with him, that's for me, I was just like, oh, like, I know that we're moving in that direction, but I don't feel like we're quite there yet. I feel intimacy needs to be built slowly. But to answer your question, yes, when that constantly showing up, it did feel really good. It just felt like I felt, really special and important. I just felt like, and I also was like glued to my phone because, just in those beginning stages of just feeling like
absolutely.
That uncertainty of what could be.
Like in the beginning of any relationship, especially if we're really vulnerable, a relationship feels like it feels exciting, right? And so that's a time when our nervous systems are actually not like completely telling us the truth, because our nervous systems are so excited unconsciously. And this is a very deep concept, but I'm going to tell you guys this just a little bit. When we have primarily an anxious attachment, our nervous systems get so dysregulated that it shoots cortisol and adrenaline through our body. Now, adrenaline is the fight or flight hormone, but it's also the thing that gets you really excited. So sometimes when you get into a relationship with someone, even if they're not good for you, in fact, especially when they're not good for you, your body's trying to shoot adrenaline to say, run away from this. Like, this is probably not good for you. But your mind interprets it as being excitement and being like, wow, I have butterflies in my stomach. This thing is so exciting. I probably want to be with them. And so that's why the early stages of a relationship can also feel very exciting. And that exciting can be a distraction from what actually is. And instead, we just see it as like, oh my God, like, what's going on in here? Caleb, yes, unfortunately, you did miss the group breathing exercise. It was at the start, but you can catch it in the recording. Okay, so Christina, thank you for answering those two questions. So now, after this person had, stated this boundary with you and said, okay, I'm not going to date somebody else. You said that there was still a lot of distance between you. You weren't in the same place. You hadn't actively started being in a relationship yet, right? So then how did it move from there?
Yeah. And so so I'm just muting someone.
Yeah.
So that's when, he proposed we be in an official relationship. And that is what I wanted, but it did feel too soon. So I was like, okay. And then the conversation continued, and then he said something and I was like, are you falling in love with me? And then he said, I am in love with you. And I was like, okay, it was like very fast, for me. Yeah.
For some clarity also, then, were you guys officially dating at that point?
For like 90 seconds. Yeah.
Okay. So you were officially dating for like 90 seconds and the guy said he loved you. Good. See, now we're getting to the juicy shit.
And so this is interesting because it's the relationship before that. It was similar. It wasn't as fast, but it was like within a week or two.
Right.
Yeah, I would say it was in like within 2 weeks. And then it just came up, like we were like video chatting and then
Right.
it. And I
Okay.
was, oh,
Within really short periods of time,
yeah.
right? Now, when that
Not
person,
also without seeing each other and like meeting in person.
so both of those relationships had that commonality.
Yeah.
Again, something for us to tune into, guys. And I'll tell you why when we move forward into the second part of this. So in both cases, you hadn't yet seen them, but they had established, this almost tells you in some sense that your priority was a strong emotional connection faster than maybe a necessary physical connection, right? Now, I also want to tell all of you, I would say one of the beautiful expressions of the feminine is that it can create very, very strong emotional connections with people. This is why a mother is like undyingly there for their child. They can create strong connections with community, with people around them. This is also where, if it's not protected, a woman can be very vulnerable to a connection with a man, that they may unconsciously ignore or abandon certain other traits which may not be good or healthy for them, even if it's physically, for the sake of what they believe is a strong emotional connection with someone. I am a very strong advocate that people must have a strong emotional and physical connection to be in a long-standing relationship. And that's why they need to have the opportunity to discover that and go through that at the start, so that they can say, okay, this is what I want to move forward. I just wanted to take a segue moment to talk about that. But now when they told you, and this guy, this 90-second, let's call him 90-second Romeo, if you're cool with that. Is that cool? Yes? No? Okay, I'm just going to call him.
You know what, let's just go for it. If it will humor you, then by all means.
Oh, man, of course it's fucking humoring me. Can you not see how I'm smiling? Everybody on here is fucking smiling. I love it. 90-second. Okay, so 90-second Romeo then said he loved you. What did you do? And what happened in that moment?
Oh, to be honest, I think I was in like more of a state of not necessarily panic, because it wasn't like I was worried. I just felt a little shook, where I was just like, it's just in my body. It didn't feel like it was resonating. Something felt a little off.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, and I also felt very uncomfortable because I did not feel the same way. Like I had a lot of love in my heart for him. And like, and like we say, I love you, like to so many people, like as friends. And like, I would have been like, oh yeah, of course I love this person, but in love, absolutely not. And I was worried that he was going to ask. And then I would have, I would have been faced with like, do I fawn or do I like stumble and stutter through a really awkward, like,
really awkward, like, no, I'm not in love with you. So
I'm not good at those types of hard conflict conversations. Like really, really ugly.
And that's another thing to recognize, is that when, again, as those of us who've been like, or who are anxious attachers, like when conflict comes, we pick two things. We either pick pleasing, which is a very dominant response. So we'll give up ourselves to basically make sure a scenario works okay, as long as that person doesn't leave us. And the other thing we'll pick is to fight through it. So in moments where, the other person, primarily with avoidance, when they're trying to pull away, we'll keep fighting, because fighting gives us stimulus, and our nervous system, as remember I said, as anxious attachers, needs a lot of fucking stimulus because it's very dysregulated. So if you're noticing those things in your relationships, and the number one thing is, when you regulate your nervous system, you can create more internal security, which means you can actually give someone a better answer and work through conflict so much better in that moment. Another just like juicy point I wanted to give you guys. So when 90-second Romeo said he loved you and you weren't sure, like, if you wanted to say it back, you definitely didn't feel it back. What did you do? Did you choose to say anything back to him? Did you accept it and say, I love you back? Did you choose to go to the next stage of your relationship? What happened?
In that moment, it did, like, that was not something that was asked back of me. So I luckily just kind of got out of having to like say it. But I do remember, like, that was closely followed by also like a feeling of feeling really great about feeling like chosen, that this man that I really like thought a lot of, that he was, that I don't want to say like won him over, but that he did think so highly of me in such a short amount of time. You're just like, oh, am I this like, enchantress like woman, or, whatever.
Yeah, I'm this fucking bombshell that this guy wants me. And the better is like, if in some way I admire him or I think he's like good, even better. Because I mean, there are people who will come and love bomb us and we have no interest in like dating them whatsoever. And then it's just like, okay, thanks, whatever. It's either a bit creepy or like, I don't feel the same way. But when there's someone we even slightly admire, or we find like some sort of like connection or desire for, then it means so much more. So you didn't have to say anything. Again, what happened next in the relationship?
Then oh, well, like, yeah, but then I actually went to like go see him and like visit him. And then we spent like a lot of really intense time together very quickly.
Okay.
So, yeah, I went all in really quick.
Okay. So in that period of time, you felt like I mean, there's this piece of commonality where at the start, you're in these last two relationships, right? There's the start of where you want to question and say, maybe it should take its time, or it should like, spread out a little more so I can get to know this person or this relationship a little more. But then in both cases, there's like, okay, this person is willing to really dive in and commit to me. So I think I should just dive in and commit. And you spent intense periods of time with both those like relationships, right? With the people together. What happened in those intense periods of relationships? Did you find out that you didn't want to be with that person, or did you want to further go down this road of being with this person?
Definitely. I always say that I think deep down, we all really know what our truth is. And like that, I knew deep down that both of those people weren't my person, but I did feel and choose the latter, which is wanting to pursue it, because that like rushing into the intimacy, it just like, intimacy feels really good, feeling, that love, that connection. It felt really good. So I did want to, pursue it and like, see like, where can these go? So yeah, 100%.
Especially when our nervous systems are dysregulated, intimacy can feel even better because it plays to our dysregulated nervous system. Hey, and welcome to the Inner Yats YouTube page. If you like our content, make sure you click the like and the subscribe button so that you get more of these amazing videos that keep coming your way.